I hear you, and I don't think they know yet. And I don't think they know yet either. And that's part of the beauty of populism, is it attracts support without even having a policy. It's just catches the ennui and the anger. As a rule, when we're going through these political reshufflings, that's when the populists are the loudest. And as a rule, when we're done with the reshuffling, the populists are shoved back into the closet. What's going on right now is every faction wants to be the issue that is the litmus test for loyalty to the party. And so whether it's an issue on race or abortion or inequality, everyone is screaming. It usually takes 8 to 12 years for us to sort this out. We are now in year 7. So we have at least one more presidential cycle to go through, unfortunately. I can't do more than hazard a random guess as to what the factions will look like on the backside. But the idea that in a rapidly aging demographic, because we're aging too, that the rules of the past apply might be a bit of a reach. Well, it's when populations get older, they get a little bit more crotchety. And so I can see us at least, I can see at least for a few years, us getting a third party where the populists of the left and the populists of the right are more or less on the same page. And that won't be stable, having 3 parties. It will always collapse back to 2. But for the first time in American history, one of those parties might actually be populist. We won't know for a few more years. But when I see people like Donald Trump and Joe Biden basically having exactly the same foreign policy and economic policy, I can see that working. I think that's going to slow down, unfortunately. A lot of the countries that we've historically gotten population from in the last half century have been Mexico and Central America, and they're tapping out. They started the industrialization process later, but now it's been going for at least 25 years. So their population structure is starting to become a little shy of kids. So I think we're going to see, Mexican migration to the United States for the last 13 years has been negative for 12 of the 13. Central Americans are going to grow into that club here in the next few years. Any other population movements you're talking about, that's us going out and getting people. That won't happen without a change in mindset. Now, I am part of that business community that is now politically disenfranchised. I would be thrilled if the administration, regardless of whether it's Biden, Trump, or someone else, would play that game. Because if you look at what's going on right now in the world, in Ukraine, you've got 45 million people that are going to have their country destroyed, and they have first world educations. There's a wonderful opportunity there. In Russia, a country that besides a real shit show, there are a small number of people, less than 3 million, who are actually skilled technologically that are trying to get out. And what a wonderful opportunity there too. So every time a country in the wider world gets smacked up the head, there's an opportunity to go there and to basically poach. But we need a change in mindset on our side before we can do that. I don't think that's going to happen in this administration. We'll see what the next one looks like.
Yeah.
Self-sufficiency or the military reach to do it right now. It takes time to build that. And first we have to get through the dark side of this. So first we have deglobalization. First we have the American withdrawal. First we have the Chinese collapse. And as all that is going on, new powers will rise, but not tomorrow. Probably not this decade. The ones that are most likely are Turkey, Japan, France, and Argentina. They've kind of got the magic mix of demographic flexibility or strategic reach or an ability to interface with raw materials, suppliers, and markets, or maybe just have a good partnership with the United States. But that doesn't happen overnight.
How Japan, given the demographic?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Japan has been aging slowly for a long time. And don't get me wrong, they are still the world's oldest country, but the pace of their aging has been surpassed by dozens of other countries now. And they have managed to not just automate a lot of their industry successfully, they did it in an environment before there was a capital crunch, so it's already in place. And they've offshored a lot of their manufacturing to countries with better demographics. So they've already found a way to kind of work with this. And they've also cut a deal with the United States under the Trump administration. So, if you can deal with Trump and Biden, I think that says volumes about their strategic flexibility. So they've kind of bought their way into the club, so to speak, which is like the worst possible thing for the Chinese. Every imperial power had been smashed. The Soviet Union had built its Iron Curtain. And for 10 years, we had the United States at the height of its relative power versus the world. Most of the world was devastated. And it still took 10 years to build out the system we now know. We're doing anything that might come out of this now. The United States has gone home. Its military is inappropriate for the job. Its economy is renationalizing, and its politics are in a dither. There isn't anyone out there that has the capacity to displace or replace the United States on the global stage. The best you can hope for is some tight regional systems around powers that are relatively coherent themselves. But a global order, that does not make. Well, I'd say not only do people not realize they're in an era of stagnation until it's over, people don't realize they're in a golden age until it's over.
Great point.
And from 1985 until 2015, that was the fastest period of economic growth ever for everyone. We're not going to have something like that again. That was the highlights of globalization. And it was great, but it was a moment in time. Structurally, it was a moment in time demographically, and now it's over. All I can tell you is if you're American, the next 5 years are going to be a wild ride. Yes, it's going to be inflationary. Yes, it's going to be probably also going to be record growth rates. It's an exciting time to be alive. I'm not saying that there's not going to be parts of the world that aren't going to be interesting from an economic point of view, but the old rules are gone and we are literally making up the new ones as we go. So if you are aggressive, the world is your oyster right now, but just pay attention to your security.
Man, I'll close with this. You just summed up the political communications problem for the Biden administration, because that clip went viral on Twitter where I think it was the press secretary was saying, but look at the job growth numbers. Right. Look at all these different economic statistics. This goes to your point about fastest growth ever. But everyone's like, yeah, but look at $5, $6 gas. These two things are happening. In the 70s, when you have high inflation, the economy was also kind of in the crapper. So seeing these both at the same time does not produce a coherent
we don't have a framework.
Message.
We're used to oil going up when the dollar goes down and vice versa, and now they're doing this. And that is devastating for a lot of people, but not here.
It truly one of the most searched for guests in the history of Breaking Points. Marshall, I don't know if you've taken a look at this channel's research data, but it wouldn't surprise me there as well. So congratulations for everything that you do, and I really appreciate you joining us.
My pleasure. You guys